Good morning, everybody, and today we're going to be talking about the New Age movement. One of my favorite things to talk about because there's so much involved in it and there's a lot of stigma attached to it, so it's going to be a really fun topic. So I decided to do New Age this morning, actually. I was like, I should make a video about the New Age movement, but really, let's go back a little bit. On a personal level, I have been a Reiki practitioner for 3 years. I just attained level 2, so I'm like 66% of the way there. I'm going to be taking the master class next month. So I'm having a blast learning how to do all this stuff, and I'm also teaching myself and reading a lot about crystal healing and things like that. So I realized, I'm like, I've been doing this for years, between enjoying crystal healing and things like that, learning and practicing Reiki, but only a few months ago did I come to the conclusion, I don't know why it took me this long, maybe because I had a lot of other things going on, but I came to the conclusion that I need to do this for work. I have this awesome college degree that has taught me a lot about world religions, anthropology. I know the basics of running a group, running a business. I need to be a Reiki healer. I need to be a crystal healer. I need to do this. So in the past few months, I've been kind of weighing my options, like how many other Reiki practitioners are there, how many other yoga studios are there that I could possibly be in competition with, depending on how I want to expand my enterprise. There's a lot. I may live in north of the wall in Maine, but there's a lot, and there's a lot of Reiki practitioners and yoga studios and reflexologists and massage therapy salons and spas and all this. They're everywhere, right? And beyond your standard massage therapy or things like that, all these spas have Reiki practitioners. They have reflexologists, people who practice polarity, different types of these therapies. And I was thinking, yes, it does a lot of times will be counted as New Age, but beyond that, what I was really stunned was how many of these places and these practitioners actually are out there, even up here in the small towns in the country, in the rural areas. And I thought, if I become a Reiki practitioner and a professional crystal healer, crystal therapist, what am I going to be bringing to the table that's different from what other people are bringing and things like that? And I started getting worried about just being lumped in with the New Age, and I'm like, wait a minute, why don't we talk about this? So I have my notes, and first let's define what New Age is, because I used to refer to myself as really being interested and into the New Age practices, and then over the past few years I'm like, no, and here's why. So what is New Age? New Age is crystal healing, it's Reiki, it's yoga, shamanism, laws of attraction, Native American medicine or Native American cultures, witchcraft and Wicca, Hinduism, Buddhism and other Eastern philosophies, meditation, chakra balancing and chakra healing, etc., etc. You hear a lot of the Age of Aquarius and all these different things, and angels and spirit guides, and it goes on and on. So why New Age? Why all of a sudden are all these things popular? And I think the reason why, and a lot of people might agree with me, is that it's a cultural awakening to new ways of health, new ways of thinking about health, wellness, spirituality, new ways to live our lives and expand our minds, new ways of looking at the world. We're asking greater questions and we're searching for our change. I feel like culturally, at least spiritually, and things like that, we've been pretty stagnant. Like I've said in previous videos, we live in a very concrete, other people have termed it left brain, monotheistic, male-centered culture. It's very cold and calculating and concrete, and I think a lot of us are just not satisfied with that. So we're looking beyond. We're asking greater questions. Are there more than one God? Is there a God at all? Are angels how we've always perceived them? What happens after we die? How can I better my life now? How can I improve my health now without having to take all these medications? Which I have asked myself too. I've got a couple of chronic illnesses, and I've always been prescribed, take this medication, take that to balance this out. And I'm like, you know what? I don't trust that pill. Like, I'm not dying. I can manage this myself with, doing Reiki on myself when I need it. I can manage this herbally, and I'm fine. I gained back all the weight I lost, 20 pounds, by the way, 30 pounds, I think. Yeah, I'm managing myself, and I'm healthier, and I'm fine without this medication and without all these tests and things, which has led me to believe that there is something to this. So yes, I was looking for better ways of managing my diseases, better ways of living, and in a lot of ways, I'm happier than I was. And the who practices New Age, who's into New Age. I'm going to say Westerners. I'll just focus on Americans, maybe Canadians, I don't know, but I feel like I can't really speak for anybody else. I know it exists in Great Britain. I've never been. I've only ever seen documentaries. So let's just talk about Americans, because that's what I do. So everything I've just said, I've defined it as we seem to understand it, but I've defined it wrong on purpose. So everything I've listed, crystal healing, Reiki, yoga, shamanism, the different spiritualities and meditations and things, yeah, that's what gets lumped into New Age and other things. And the why are we doing it? We're looking for new ways of healing ourselves, new ways of living our lives, asking greater questions. Again, partially false. There is absolutely nothing new. Nothing modern at all about any of the things I just listed. Even Wicca. Wicca is probably the newest, most, fancy fandangle thing, brand new thing on this list. But even Wicca isn't really that new. It may have been packaged in its modern definition as we know it in the 50s, but Wicca itself comes from more ancient practices, very old style witchcraft. It's just gotten a modern twist. So in some ways, yeah, it's new. The Wicca aspect is new, but the witchcraft aspect is not. So let's actually properly define what the New Age movement is. The New Age practices are not new. I cannot stress this enough. And that's really my biggest pet peeve, when people don't understand how old and even ancient some of these things are, like Hinduism. The modern practice of Hinduism, just because you're not from India or you're not an Indian or you're, not from that part of the world, suddenly, if you're an American, like somebody who looks like me, and you practice Hinduism, that's a New Age. Suddenly, the person who practices it redefines whether Hinduism or Buddhism or New Age, and that's wrong. Hinduism is Hinduism. If you practice it, it's not New Age. Gotta calm down. What's new about the New Age? You gotta look at the phrase itself, New Age. We're talking about the time itself, the era we're living in. You've heard of the Age of Aquarius. I'm not gonna go into much detail on that because I don't quite understand how that works. But it's talking about a time, the Age of Aquarius, the Age of Pisces. It all depends on our position in the planet's position in space, in our revolution in the galaxy. So the New Age should only be referred to as the time we live in. Like I said, we're coming into a kind of a cultural enlightenment where we're asking all these new questions and kind of pursuing new ideas. Well, the ideas we're pursuing really aren't new. The time we are living in is new, in that we are kind of growing up and growing away and branching off, kind of emancipating ourselves culturally from our past, from our concrete, left brain, male-centered, kind of stagnant past. That's what the new age means. It's got nothing to do with what we do with it, and everything to do with how we live and where we are, culturally. So, it's a new age of enlightenment. We're discovering or rediscovering, in a lot of ways, ancient and old ways of living our lives, of approaching spirituality and the questions of God and the afterlife and angels and things like that. So while some people do turn some of these things into fads and they're fashionable, let's talk about yoga. When you think of, and this is a thing, especially in the fall, you've got your basic white girl who wears like yoga pants and Ugg boots and drinks pumpkin spice lattes while they're bundled up in their North Face jacket. Let's talk about that stereotype. And yes, it's a stereotype. I'm sorry, there are women and girls who are like that. But let's approach this as the fad aspect. I used to work at kind of an Eastern import store where we sold a lot of things like singing bowls, yoga attire, jewelry, kind of like what I'm wearing now. And a lot of women, especially around the holidays, would come in with their Coach bags and Abercrombie and Fitch bags, and they'd be talking about yoga and things like that. And as a non-judgmental person, I'm thinking about this. I'm really trying to rationalize it. Like, are these women really into yoga, the spiritual practice, things like that, meditation? Or is it kind of a fashion for them? And I feel like, depending on how you carry yourself, I get certain impressions. If you're gonna come in and kind of represent the stereotype, I'm sorry to say, I'm gonna wonder, is this a fad or a fashion for you, or are you truly into the spiritual practice of yoga? For what it really is. Because I'll tell you, when I go to like the sporting goods stores and I see all these fancy, expensive yoga clothes and yoga blocks and yoga balls and yoga mats and yoga bags and yoga water bottles and yoga headbands, and I'm like, wow, this is a cash cow. Meanwhile, on some beach in India, there's some old ascetic guy practicing yoga directly on the sand, wearing not much at all. I feel like our Western approach to some of these practices, like I just used yoga as an example, turns them into a fad. It makes it fashionable. It makes it pretty. You're looking at the surface of it. It's pretty. It's cool. I look cool doing it. I think it's cool. It's not really what you think it is. Because on some small level, I get a little irritated because I'm like, it's not what yoga should be about. Yes, we're selling yoga pants and yoga tank tops. I'm actually wearing mine now. My Ganesh tank top that I got at the store I used to work at. And just so we're clear on this, I spent $10 on it. It was made in Thailand, I think, and the company I worked for is vehemently anti-sweatshop. So I can trust that this was made by a person who was well taken care of, and I didn't pay an arm and a leg for it, and it's super comfy, and I love it because I love Ganesh. Meanwhile, at Target, the expensive yoga pants were made in a sweatshop. Probably in the place where yoga was from. I have some problems with this. So we've talked about the stereotypes, and I kind of drew this out on purpose. I read about pretty extensively in college in anthropology. We talked about the concept of going native, and I'm going to tie this into fads and fashion. So, in the West, in America, we have this idea of going native. What is going native? Well, it's... Please don't be offended. It's when white people, white Americans, turn to things like Native medicine, Native American spirituality, the various cultures, the various ways of life that come out of these Native American cultures. It's white people turning to indigenous faiths, indigenous ways of life, as well as other kind of very deep spiritualities like Hinduism, like Buddhism. It's when white people turn to other cultures that are not their own as a way to reconnect. It's kind of the white man's adoption of faiths and cultures that are not our own as a way to, how do I put this slightly? As a way to make the past okay. Yes, we did some bad shit to you guys, but we want to be one of you, so are we cool? That's kind of the impression I got from reading these books. And while it may be true in a lot of ways, well, some people might approach it that way, I did not necessarily agree with all of the points that this Going Native curriculum, this book taught us. Here's what I think Going Native is. I think it's when not just white people, anybody, we'll just talk about America, when people see our current civilization, our current society, and say, yo, we're fucked up. This is not okay. Why are we eating this crap food? Why are we killing ourselves at these crap jobs for this crap money and these shitty benefits, and our kids aren't getting any smarter, and our education system sucks, and we're fucked up, plain and simple. And a lot of people are looking outward. How do we fix this? How do we better ourselves? This is not okay. This is not how it should be. Our ancestors, all of our ancestors, whether you're Native American or you're Western European or you're Asian or you're African, we're all living in the modern world in America right now. But all of our ancestors had their shit straight. You might disagree, but I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about how they lived with each other and how they cared about each other. In a lot of ways, our ancestors were way better off than we are now. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize it. Hence, the new age. Are we good? Are we good so far? I think I'm good. So, yes, we are coming to this period of this aha moment, and we're like trying to move away from our past. Well, here's the thing. Here's where I don't like the idea of going native, because going native presumes that us white people, like the women in yoga pants I talked about a few minutes ago, it presumes that us white people are just taking these ancient practices and making them into fashionable fads. We're improving our lives on the surface, and we're doing it in a racist manner. Now, I'll leave that at that. I'll let you kind of think about that yourself and see how you feel about it, especially if it may or may not apply to you or somebody you know. That's that. Now, I think going native shouldn't be considered going native. I maybe think it should be considered going ancient. Because in a lot of ways, especially in America, people aren't necessarily going native, as in our native indigenous cultures. They are, in fact, going ancient. And this book that I read talked about how, aside from adopting native practices and cultures to help their own lives, people are going to all these New Age expos, and the New Age movement is teaching them all these things that will better your life, and you'll be rich, and people are paying gobs and gobs of money to go to these expos and conventions for these New Age conventions, and they're paying tons of money to learn what they should be able to get for free. We're coming to the paramount of this. So, I think that we're going ancient, and the New Age conventions that we pay lots of money to go to, and we pay lots of money for these books and things, and that's the fad. When we're paying tons of money to learn what we could be getting for free or for very little money at all. The fad is relying on other people to teach us. We're relying on these people with lots of letters after their names. Like, I'm a certified Reiki practitioner or Reiki master. Like, CRM, certified Reiki master. Like, people with lots of letters and initials after their name. And we're giving these people lots of money. Here, take my money, Sylvia Brown, and tell me what my dead grandmother has to say. That's the fad, and I think that is 99% bullshit. So here's where I think we are. Here's what I think that we should be doing. And I'm just one person, and if you're watching this, you might actually want to hear what I have to say. We need to stop looking for instant gratification. Because when we presume that I'm going to take my crystals and meditate with them, and it's going to work instantly, I'm going to get whatever I want instantly. Instant gratification. No, instant gratification does not work. Please excuse me. And when we don't get results immediately, we say, oh, all this new age stuff, it's bullshit. And it gets lumped back in with the fashions and the fads, and it gains less and less respect. Okay, here's the thing. When you take a pill, does it work instantly? Usually no. Sometimes you have to get a couple of those little shits in your body before it really starts to work. We don't expect instant results in a lot of aspects of our lives. So why do we expect it from these ancient spiritualities, these old practices? Because maybe we're taught and told through the pursuit of this knowledge that it will work right away. It's better than the pill that you're going to take from the doctor. It's better than this. It works better than that. Yeah, that may be true, but let me give you a real world example. I've been working with crystals for various reasons for a long, long time. And like in nature, there are rules. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to put this in a little thing of sand next to my bed. It looks pretty. It's going to heal me. Maybe not. Maybe this particular crystal needs more than just to sit there on your bed table to work. So what I did with this is one of my favorite crystals. I'm the only one that touches it. It's my labradorite, and I've been obsessed with labradorite lately. And I've been meditating with this, and it goes right on my third eye. And for the past several weeks, mind you, I've been meditating with it. I feel better. Every time I do it, I feel better. But yesterday, something new happened that has never happened before. I went so far, so deep into my meditation with this on my third eye that after about 20 minutes, I started seeing in my mind's eye, behind my eyelids, not big, but behind your eyelid it looks big, these indigo purple orbs. They would kind of do this, and they would go out, and they would go out, and they would look really cool. I'm like, I have never seen this before. This is really cool. So yeah, it takes time. You have to learn how to use these things. The first time you do yoga is gonna suck. The 5th time you do yoga is gonna suck. You have to put time and effort. You have to stop expecting instant results, instant gratification. We're the culture of TV dinners and like instant access. We need to get that bullshit out of our head. This stuff, everything I've been talking about, anything from crystal healing to meditation to yoga, if you're incorporating it into your life, it's gonna take time. You have to learn. You have to understand. You have to experiment and practice. The reason why I am still doing this, even though I've been doing it for years with mixed results, is because I have to get better myself. I have to follow the rules of the crystals. I can't make them follow my human rules of do it now or else. These guys work way different than I do, as does all this other stuff. You know, we have to open our minds more, and we are able to do it. We can do it. It's not like we have to attain, you know, some high status of mystic or spiritual healer to be able to understand this stuff. We don't need to do that. We just have to be patient, open our minds, experiment a little bit, and really understand what we're doing. Because if we don't, if we just dive into it looking for a quick fix and throwing all of our money at these people, at these expos and shops and stuff to heal us, we're going to be sorely disappointed, because it's not about money, it's not about status, it's not about fashion. It's if you really dedicate your life or a portion of your life and time and efforts to pick something. I'm going to learn how to meditate. I'm going to study Buddhism. I'm going to do Reiki or yoga, or learn about the chakras. If you're going to do this stuff, it does take time. It's the same as going to school. You do it for years before you even really understand and know what you're doing. So instead of, and this is my challenge for everybody, pick something that you love that may be qualified as New Age, which it's not. Pick something that really you're drawn to. For me, it's Reiki and crystal healing. And I have to say to myself, if something doesn't work, if I can't meditate one night, or if this crystal doesn't work for me, I can't give up. I can't say this is bullshit, it doesn't work. Because the people who say this is bullshit and it doesn't work either tried it and it didn't work, or they don't understand it enough to give it the respect, or at least the just the recognition it deserves. So I think culturally, yes, we may be looking in the right direction, but we need to take a step back and understand that we need to change our thinking way more than we think we do before we can even begin to incorporate some of these things in our lives. And I think we're on the right track. We're getting better. But we have to stop thinking as of the New Age movement, these New Age practices. We have to start looking at them as what they really are. It's ancient wisdom. You know, these are things that our ancestors have practiced. And I'm not just talking about Eastern medicine either. Witchcraft, things like Druidism, even crystal healing. Crystal healing has been practiced for tens of thousands of years, and different crystals are found all over the world. No matter what part of the world your people came from, guaranteed there's a form of the New Age movement that originated with them. So it's really not going native, is it? It is going ancient. So I think, like I said, we're on the right track. We just need to stop our thinking that this is going to work instantly. No. Practice. 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 Educate yourself. Experiment a little bit. Give it time. These things work. There is nothing bullshit about any of these things. You just need to put your mind in the right place, and eventually you'll get results, and you're going to love it. And we'll move forward as a culture. Any questions, let me know. If any of the things I mentioned, like I told you to really kind of think about the going native thing a little while ago, tell me what you really think. Now, mind you, yes, I have a decent amount of experience with these things between my college experience and my real world experience. This is just one person's opinion. If you don't agree, you're perfectly allowed to, but please don't try to discredit me for what I've seen over the course of my life. So have a great day, everybody, and good luck.